Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Best Damn Pod in the Land. I'm your host, Chad Stryker, with our co-host here with me, as always, Dan Divjak. Dan, how's your Tuesday, man?
It's going, man. It's going. I love it. It's been a good week so far. Just want to thank everybody for tuning in so far. It's been a lot of fun these last couple of weeks. Make sure you like and subscribe to the channel. I think we hit 1,000 views the other day. So
we did. Yeah, big number.
Milestone, which is pretty cool. So
yeah, I didn't tweet that out. I meant to send that out and just say thanks to everybody, and we appreciate everybody listening. So yeah, the subscriptions would be great. Liking is great. Anything you do is phenomenal. We appreciate you guys. Love all the listener questions and appreciate those as they get submitted or direct message to me as well. So that's been a thing too, because I definitely have people that message me and say, hey, what's going on with this or what's going on with that. So appreciate you guys doing that too. We love to interact. I have fun with it. So unless somebody's, off their rocker or being crazy or something, but right into the show, man.
That could be fun though too, right?
Yeah. Well, we had prepared show notes, and then the news dropped this morning at like 8 a.m. I got a message, a direct message that we were going to get to talk to a couple. Well, but people were going to get to talk to a couple coaches, and it was James Laurinaitis and Matt Guerrieri. And so it kind of shifted what we were. It's in line with what we were going to talk about, because the question we had was, of the new coaching hires, what or which one is your favorite? And that's actually a question from one of my best friends that I've known for 30 years. Yeah. He asked me about it. He sent me a text message. He listened to the pod and he wanted to know what we thought. So, but then James Laurinaitis went on this thing, went on today, and I wanted to just touch on this, and we talked about it before the show lifted off, but he said, I want to be there with the guys when Roger Goodell calls their name, but I also hope that these young men call me when they decide to get married, and I want to be there when they get married. And he talked about how the different coaches, including Tressel and others, shaped him and molded him as a man. As you know, his dad passed away, and the value of those relationships and how much they cared about his personal life and the things that he did and didn't do. And I've known, and I think a lot of us know that Tress is that kind of a guy. He's a builder of men, and now you have another part of that lineage with James Laurinaitis. So I'm going to give you the question again, Dan, but I thought that was just phenomenal. The whole interview was great. I love listening to Threes. He used to be on with Rothman and Ice, in the afternoons on 97.1 The Fan there a few years ago. And I love listening to him talk. So which one of the, new hires, if you want to call them that, promotions, what are you most excited about, and who and why?
This is probably the hardest question that we've had so far. Because we're looking at there were 3 hires.
We had Bob, then Chip.
Yeah, then Chip. So
yeah, Guerrieri, and then you got you promote James Laurinaitis, and then you think about all the re-ups that they did too.
Yeah,
and then adding in the GA of Larry Johnson's son.
Yeah, absolutely. So, if I had to pick one, I would say it would be James.
Okay.
Just because I think that position has been neglected for a minute. And I think his impact on the recruiting trail is going to be greater than the other 2 combined, probably. I think Guerrieri's going to be a sneaky good recruiter. I mean, Guerrieri
is.
I mean, listen, this guy was a defensive coordinator of a Big Ten program last year. Mm-hmm. He's I know that there was why did we let, Eliano go? The safeties seemed to progress this last year, and this is one of Noel's boys. And yeah, you know what? All that's true. Yeah. And I don't have a problem with that. I think the kid is super sharp. I think he's going to be a sneaky good recruiter. Obviously excited about Chip. I think we've talked about that ad nauseum, for now. I don't think Chip is going to necessarily have a huge impact on the recruiting trail. Maybe we're selling him a little short on that. The word is that he doesn't like it. I don't think he liked being a head coach of today's college program, but I think he enjoys football so much, and that when he gets these guys in there to talk shop, that he's going to be pretty dynamic. But I think James, based on who he is, what he's done, he's a legacy for the program. I just think he's going to have by far the biggest impact on the recruiting trail. So that's the one I'm most excited about. I'm going to be watching closely to see the progress that somebody like a CJ Hicks makes now that he's going to be able to be with him full time.
There's your earmark. Yep.
So if I've got to pick one of the three, it would be James. That's
great. I love the thought. So I'm going to play a little bit of like the devil's advocate. So I was not an Eliano guy. Okay. The guys did play better. But if you look at Latham Ransom in year one of Knowles, was put in positions he should have never been put in. Yeah. Covering one-on-one in zero coverage. It's not that I don't think he played badly. I think he was put in poor positions.
Right.
Josh Proctor, he was supposed to be the second coming when he signed with Ohio State, and then he had all the athletic talent in the world, but he just never seemed to be able to put it together mentally. So I'm not. I don't know. I'm in the middle ground on Eliano. And so I like the Guerreri hire a lot because he understands the Knowles system. Yeah. And I know that it's kind of low hanging fruit, but we also managed to get rid of our special teams coordinator, who shall remain nameless. And Guerreri is going to help on special teams with Ryan Day, which I thought was great because Urban was so involved with special teams. We've talked about that on the pod that I think it doesn't hurt to have your head coach involved with special teams. So he knows when it's 4th and 1 on the Michigan 45-yard line, we don't screw up and snap the ball to the punter. I'm going to leave it at that. Because we could do a whole segment on special teams malfunctions in the last 2 years. But I will say I'm in 100% agreement with you about James Laurinaitis. Him being promoted made total sense to me. And I actually read this quote because I follow a lot of recruits just to see what's going on. And Elijah Melendez, who's a Miami commit right now in 2025, said that Ohio State has a legit shot because as soon as James Laurinaitis was officially promoted, within 5 minutes, he had texted Elijah Melendez to find out where he stood. So I think if James can start that pipeline like we have with Brian Hartline, like we have with Tim Walton, and now you have a former player, college football Hall of Famer, 4-0 against that team up north, and he's under 40 years old, and kids seem to really get him. He seems to understand kids and a molder of men. If he can understand the coaching aspect of the game, because he hasn't been coaching that long. Right. We know he can recruit. He's going to be a great recruiter. He's dynamic. But if he can coach those kids up, get some guys drafted in the late first, early second round. CJ Hicks, like you mentioned, freak athlete. He talked today about Sonny Styles being in the room, so you'll have to listen to it. It was really interesting.
I didn't hear. Is that official?
It's not official. It was not official. He said that Sonny, he's towing the line. He said Sonny can do a lot of things, but it was one of those things where I don't think he'd complain if Sonny was in the room with him. So, yeah. Well, so that's that.
That would be a great first step. That would be a great first move on his part. I think that's the logical thing to do. I think that we also need to give some props to Ryan Day on the way he handled this hire. I know a lot of people were anxious and they thought this was going to be a January 1st no-brainer. But, I think Ryan did the right thing by putting James out there on the road, making sure that he was going to be able to, buy into what that consisted of being on the road away from his young family.
Yeah.
Also to see him in the living room. Also to do his due diligence on other people.
Yeah.
That's what he's responsible for doing. his job is not to build a coaching staff of former Ohio State players.
Doesn't hurt,
no, it doesn't hurt. His job is to build the best staff. Now, some of those best people happen to be former Ohio State players. But I mean, geez, we got a track record with it now with, Hartline, his first job. He's done fantastic, dynamic recruiter. We got Walton, former player. Obviously, his resume is incredibly impressive. Former DC in the NFL. But, yeah, I mean, Ryan handled it very, very well. I think we've seen Ryan grow up before our eyes this offseason. And he's got a swagger to him right now that I'm enjoying.
Yeah.
I know we've only got him once, since but he was up there for an hour and he was enjoying his time. I think I'm very, very excited about what he's done this offseason.
I wanted to read this other quote to you because this is going to put me on that tangent I mentioned to you.
Okay.
Laurinaitis also mentioned he's excited to not have to be calling signals in because last year he had to change the signals each week, acknowledging some of the well-publicized stuff around signaling that went on in our conference last year. He's looking forward to not having to be a signal caller or doing that. So I'm going to say this, and I saw a couple people from that Team Up North Twitter fandom saying, "Oh, come on, it was grainy iPhone footage." Listen to me when I tell you this. People are filming movies on iPhones.
Right.
This is not 2010. Okay? So whenever you say that or try to use that as a cop-out, you're flat out lying to yourself.
Yep.
I'm not saying the hammer's coming, but I'm saying it was more than grainy iPhone footage, especially with the glasses. End of my statement.
I'll say it. The hammer's coming. Yeah. And, I've got a good buddy of mine that I grew up with who's a huge Michigan fan, and he got really upset with me because I posted the asterisks after the Natty, and, he literally got offended by it. I'm like, if anybody should be offended, it's us for what's happened over the last 2.5, 3 seasons. You've completely, and I know this wasn't part of the show, but you brought
No, it's okay.
It's the disrespect of the rivalry that is the most upsetting. And I don't think the Michigan fans really understand that or can grasp that. But that's where I get angry about it, is that you ruined the best rivalry in the game for a number of years.
Mm-hmm.
And you disrespected the best rivalry in the game. They didn't need to do that. They had a good roster. Harbaugh's a good coach. He's a great coach. They didn't need to do that stuff. And that's what's the most upsetting about it. But then when you go on this tangent that it didn't matter, we'll save that for another show when they actually get the NOA on that, because it's going to
that's what I was going to say.
All you need to do is read Tony Petitti's 13-page letter. It's out there on Google. If you can read that and say it's no big deal, then you're not very bright.
Well, just the other day, too, I think Ward Manuel put out a statement that said they're fully complying with the NCAA as the investigation still is going on. And I think that was like February 6th. So it wasn't – I mean, it's semi-recently that came out. I saw on Twitter. So it sounds like it's still an ongoing investigation and with coaches that they retain that are still in the program. So
my hammer emoji is at the front of my queue. So I use it early and often with the
it'll all settle itself out. Like it'll all come out in the wash, as my grandmother used to say. So we'll see, when and where. I know if people are interested, I know Tony Gerdeman from Buckeye Huddle did a huge deep dive into like when the NOA might happen and, sometime in late March, early April. And, and that's speculation. No one knows. The NCAA, goes slow.
I don't want to give the NCAA credit for thinking forward like this, but if they wanted to do right by the kids, which, by the way, I don't think the kids are blameless in all this. There's plenty of video out there where those kids are signaling pass on the sideline after looking at the signals on the other side. I don't think anybody was not in the loop on this. But with that being said, if they want to do right by the kids, they put that NOA out before the portal window in April. Give those kids a chance to make a decision that's best for them.
Yeah, I saw some people really upset today about that DB from Michigan that transferred to Bama. His name escapes me, but then Saab saying like they contacted him and no one cares and they're cheating and so I'll just leave that for another day. And there will be a show, and we will do a show when the notice of allegations comes out, and we'll share it with all of you. But that's not today's show. Today's show. So Sports Nuts ran a poll, Dan, of the best game day stadiums in college football. And I'm just curious. I sent it to you because I was like, that's interesting. That's not quite how I'd rank those. And I've been to some of these, but they had Ohio State as number 1, Penn State as number 2, Michigan as number 3, LSU 4, Tennessee 5, Florida 6, Oregon 7, 8 was Texas, 9 was Bama, 10 was UCLA. Agree, disagree? What are your thoughts?
I immediately disagree with UCLA at number 10. I think that is strictly an homage to the setting of the Rose Bowl. And I think they're riding on the coattails of the Rose Bowl itself to throw them in the top 10. I can't imagine that game day experience is overwhelming. If I'm being honest and unbiased, I'm surprised that we're up there at number 1. I kind of want to know what this guy's background is.
Mm-hmm.
Is he an Ohio State guy? I'm not saying that it's not one of the top, but some of these other venues, I mean, the game day experience is off the hook.
Yeah. This says per sports. What's it say? Not. So like it's not some random dude. It's some sort of sports broadcasting.
Yeah. But I mean, I think, when you look at all those, you can, I think you can envision the pageantry and the tradition that goes along with the college game day experience.
Yeah.
In every one of those stadiums. I think each one offers something a little bit different. Obviously, the whiteout at Penn State, the in-game experience.
Oh, yes. That's
unbelievable. I actually texted a buddy of mine who's a huge LSU fan, and I was hearing something the other day. I think it was Josh Pate was maybe talking about there's part of their game day experience that, they can't even mention or show on TV, and you probably want your kid to be 13 or 14 before they go and experience. I'd like to know what that's all about. But no, I think that's a good representation.
I was just curious. I've been to Penn State for a whiteout, and it was ruckus. I literally thought that the upper deck was going to fall. And it gets loud. It does get ruckus. But I guess it's all subjective. Like I'm never going to say that, because I love to go to the skull session before the game. And, there's the game day experience at the Horseshoe is amazing. It's been around forever. I've never been to a UT game. I've been to a game in Gainesville when I was down there. I think it was 2008. So shortly after they won the Natty, and I think I don't remember who they played, to be honest with you. It was somebody, it was the beginning of the season. It was some nobody, and I was there for work, but I went for fun. Yeah, I don't know. I don't really have too many problems with it, other than somehow UCLA making the list. I would have put Clemson instead of UCLA, just the way that, or Virginia Tech, because night games in Blacksburg, it is rowdy, and I've been there, and it was crazy.
Yeah, no, with Enter Sandman, and then South Carolina's got a great tradition.
Yeah. There's a lot of great traditions. It's college football, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll move on from that. So I know we last week kind of hashed around what group we were most worried about with Ohio State coming into the season, O-line, linebackers, those two units. I wanted to ask you, where do you land on the tight ends? And so this is really derived out of something that, like, I started doing my breakdown of each unit, and I do that every year. And then in my pod last year, I kind of broke down each unit, what to look for, who to look for, and my expectations for the season. So I started working on that in the meantime, as we break down kind of each group that we're concerned about. So where are you at with this? And my question is, based out of the fact that I started looking at some numbers, and Cade Stover is heading to the NFL, and he's taking his 82 catches, basically 1,100 career yards. And I don't think his blocking was otherworldly. And a lot of times I was really irritated about his blocking on the edge, because I think he was a day late and $1 short, especially on his split sets. But I just think that's because he was dinged, mashed up, I guess, because he played so much. But he was late on a lot of blocks on the edge, especially in his splits. So what do you think about the tight ends?
I mean, I think it's a thin room, right? I think, to your point, you've got some guys that have been converted from other positions. You've got some guys that are more of a new age tight end. Look at Demario Witten, Jelani Thurman. I don't know if those guys are going to be really, set in line and line up with too tight and, shoving it down your throat type of a thing. But they're going to have to learn to do that on some level if they want to get on the field. I guess I'm probably a little less concerned about it going into this year now that we've got Chip Kelly and I know what he does. I think that Kazmarek is going to be a really nice addition. I know there's that narrative that he's coming from the MAC and he's going to Big Ten, but, there's a lot of players that just get missed coming out of high school, and they're playing at that MAC level or that power or that group of 5 level, and they can fit just fine into a power 5.
I've seen a couple MAC players take over a game in the Horseshoe. One of them was Khalil Mack.
Yeah.
He played for Buffalo.
Absolutely. Right. So, it's definitely a thin position. It's 1 or 2 injuries away from being a problem. But the good thing is we got, the wizard now calling the plays and running the offense. And I think if numbers start to become an issue there, he'll figure it out.
Wizard of Oz, I guess. Yeah. Okay. So I'm actually gonna hype something up that we disagree a little bit, actually. So I'm not sold on Will Kazmarek. Okay. I don't ever throw players under the bus. I will just say I'm simply not sold. Where I live, I use this as a reference. It's like going from 55 to 75 on the highway, going from playing at OU to OSU with the speed off the edge. Because some of those guys are fast coming off the edge. And so I don't think they're going to isolate him and make him block like one-on-one against, we'll just use like Aiden Hutchinson, even though he's not there anymore. I don't think they're going to make him do that or ask him to do that. But the speed of play is significantly different. And where I got this idea and listening to it was Jonah Booker, because Jonah Booker played at OU. He played DB at OU. Mm-hmm. He talks about the speed of the game, especially for Ohio State in the Big Ten. And then you see it even more sometimes in the SEC when the SEC plays other teams. So those two conferences, the Big Ten and the SEC, there's speed everywhere. So that said, I looked at G. Scott. He's another player converted from a different position. He has a little bit of the dropsies for a wide receiver, which I thought was kind of interesting. Jelani Thurman is a redshirt freshman. I liked what I saw from him last year. I don't think he's going to line up too often as an inline tight end. I guess they could bulk him up. But last year, watching him run down the field, he looked like Kellen Winslow Jr. That's who he reminded me of. I think we mentioned that.
And that's the way he needs to be used.
Yeah. And Bennett Christian will be back. So that's a wild card for me. He'll be a redshirt sophomore. He didn't play all last year, but he's a big kid. So, could he come on this year after missing all of last year? I won't count against it, but so he's in the room, and then they bring in true freshman Max LeBlanc, who was a highly rated tight end, and Demarion Witten out of Cleveland, Glenville. Again, another one. Both of them are known for receiving.
Yeah.
Witten's
a kid that if you listen to Ted Ginn Sr., he'll say he can line up at 5 or 6 positions on both sides of the ball and be the best player at that position.
Probably.
So I'm really excited to see him. I think he was an early enrollee, right?
They both were, LeBlanc and
So I'm really, really intrigued to see him.
I'm curious to know what you think here. To me, this room seems like it's one injury away from being kind of thin for an 11, 12, or 21 personnel package, or even 22 because I want to see it. But
it absolutely is. I mean, you're not wrong. I mean, if Guy Scott goes down, we have an issue. Now, granted, we're going to need to see a huge uptick in their level of play as a room. I know Keenan Bailey is, apparently a great recruiter.
He is.
I know Ryan, he's one of Ryan's, I hate using the word lackey, but,
he's one of Ryan's guys.
He's one of Ryan's guys, right? Ryan knows he can trust. He's loyal to Ryan. But that room has way too much talent not to see a significant improvement moving forward. And again, Chip likes to use those tight ends.
He does.
He likes to use them on those mesh concepts, on the shotgun play action mesh concepts with a little small roll, to the right or to the left, and get them out there in those crossing patterns. So it's going to be really intriguing to see how he uses those guys.
Let me ask you a question, just because I'm this person. So Caden Curry is going into his junior year. We've seen him on offense as a fullback. And could you see them using him in 12 personnel or 22 personnel in the Mitch Rossi format where he was a tight end H-back and would inline block? Do you think – or we also saw Caden McDonald line up at fullback.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know what Chip's MO is with that kind
just
of
for
stuff.
fun. It was just for fun.
Yeah. I would much rather see Caden Curry become a reliable, rotation player on the defensive end spot. I love the kid's motor. He can do whatever we want, but it could be interesting.
I was just curious. It was one of those things that as I was, hashing things out in my head, desperate times call for desperate measures. So if you get an injury and you're thin, I don't know. I'm still in the mindset. I feel like there's going to be some stuff that shakes out after spring practice too. In that second transfer portal window, I still feel like there's going to be a couple of things that we might see shake out of that. So we'll keep an eye on that, keep an ear on that. I'm interested to see, first practice, I believe, is March 7th. So it's creeping up on us. It'll be here before you know it. So bonus question, because I have a couple minutes if you do.
Yeah, sure. Real quick, though, I think that on the tight end thing, I don't think they're going to be on an island like they were last year, the last 2 years when it comes to blocking on the edge.
No.
Chip loves to pull. I've seen him pull a slot receiver, to come and help on the opposite edge. So, he'll do what he has to. And I think our combo blocks and our scheme is going to be significantly better, and it'll be able to hide any deficiencies we might have there a little bit better than in the past.
Well, as long as we don't run the stretch into the boundary, 75 times, I'll be good. All right. So, bonus question.
Yes, sir.
How do you feel about Joey Velasquez transferring from Michigan? I'm just going to say Michigan to Ohio State as a grad transfer and then walking on. Like, is this Ryan Day just like, I don't even know what the word is, like going all in on getting as much intel. So everybody that, everybody's got conspiracy ideas. Is he going all in on trying to get Michigan intel, or does he just think this is a depth piece that can help them? And I believe Velasquez, I think he's an Ohio kid.
He is an Ohio kid. That's why I probably don't have that huge of a problem with it. But I guess I don't see the point. Right? I mean, he's a walk-on kid. He's a grad student. He barely played at Michigan. Like, what are we gaining? Unless it's what you said, that it's intel. So, and you have to wonder.
Tristan Gebbia? Is it Tristan Gebbia on defense?
Yeah. You have to wonder, I mean, surely the kids are peppering them, right? Like,
for goodness sakes, yes.
What do you know? Tell us. What do you know? That'd be a tough spot for that kid to be in, especially in today's social media world. But I can't imagine the stupid people that would go after him.
Oh yeah,
if it
absolutely.
Was rumored that he was doing something, but I don't know. I haven't thought a lot about it. I don't think it's a boring situation where he's going to be, a huge impact player. He apparently was a good special teams player, but he's an Ohio kid that probably wanted to go there to begin with, and now he's a graduate, and he can do it.
Okay. Yeah, that's kind of where I landed on it. I mean, everybody's saying all or nothing this year, and then now there's all kinds of rumors that come out this time of year because it's hard to have a ton of content because things are fairly quiet. That's why I was so excited to hear from Guerreri and Laurinaitis today. That was really nice. And then other news dropped today, and we'll wrap up the show with this. And I didn't tell you about it because it literally dropped while I was talking to you. So the College Football Playoff Committee has approved the 5+7, or at least I just got a notice about it on my Twitter, that 5 automatic spots for the conference champions, and they're going to let a G5 champ in, but they'll, so 5+7. So 5 automatic bids, and those are all 12 are going to be ranked in order by the College Football Playoff Committee. Thoughts?
I mean, it was inevitable, right? They didn't want to keep. If they kept the 6+6, then you're looking at 2, group of 5 conferences qualifying for the playoff next year. And
oh yeah,
it was kind of
that's
weird.
A good point.
It was kind of weird seeing all the projections based on the current model, and you saw like Boise and Tulane in the top 12, and I'm like, what is that about? And somebody got me on Twitter one day, and they're like, well, you obviously don't know the current structure of the college playoff, but this was inevitable. 5+7 makes sense. You've got the Big 4 now, and then the top Power 5 champion will be
Big 2
there.
and Little 3.
I just all we can hope for is that they're a legit top 12 team, and we're not getting a 23rd ranked team, getting an invitation to the tournament.
Yeah.
Top 4.
James Madison.
Yeah, right. So, and then the top 4, obviously those are almost going to exclusively be the Big 4, the Power 4 conferences that are left.
Well, you want that home playoff game, though, man. You want that bye and home field advantage.
Well, the thing though is that if you finish in the top 4, you won't be playing on your campus, right? So they got that first round bye, and then the second round is all bowl games.
That's true.
So the only way you'll be playing a game, we do not want to see Ohio State with a home game in the tournament because that would mean that they did not win the Big Ten.
Yeah, I actually did some random math while we were talking about this, and from my recollection, since 2000, I think that Ohio State would have only not made the playoff like 3 times.
I'm surprised it's that many. Obviously, 2011.
Yeah. The first year under Tressel, they did beat Michigan, but I think that they didn't win their 7th game until the bowl game.
Okay.
And then I think it's 3. I'm going to go with that. I'll look it up, but I want to say it's 3 times. Yeah. I can Google
I think the season after the national championship, too, we had, maybe 3 or 4 losses, didn't we?
That sounds right.
Yeah. After in 2003.
Yeah.
And then obviously the year in between Tress and Urban. I mean, it's going to be – now, I mean, the Big Ten it's stacked now. You know, at least with names. I mean, I think Oregon's going to be a serious player in on a regular basis.
Oh, I agree with you. I was scrolling through this. So since 2000, Ohio State was 8-4 in 2000. 2001 was 7-5, which I mentioned the bowl game. 2004 they were 8-4.
Yep.
And then ever since it's been the 2011 year, so it would be 4. So yeah, 2000 they wouldn't have gone. 2001 they wouldn't have gone. 2011 they wouldn't have gone.
Yeah.
So 3.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it should be a regular occurrence. Hopefully, we've got that first round bye every year, which means we won the Big Ten. This year it needs to be all of those.
Oh, I guess for some reason I thought Cooper was out in '99. He coached in 2000.
Yeah.
I forgot about that. Wow. Okay. Well, let's wrap our show with that, with Chad's random facts about his brain that broke or something. But yeah, cool. So I appreciate your time today, guys. It's been fun. If you have questions you want us to answer, let us know. We truly are working on going on a live pod where you can comment your questions in, and I'm working diligently to find a way that we can have someone that will take the calls. So a studio producer. So I'm working on that so that you guys could actually just call in and talk to us, and we can hash it out and have fun with that. So we're working on that too. So there are some updates and cool things coming, and Dan and I continue to work on just making this a better experience for everybody. So if you don't mind, hit the like, subscribe button. Dan, any last comments, man?
No, just like, subscribe, share. We're having fun. Let's keep it going.
Yeah,
I really appreciate you guys.
We are having fun, and when I saw that thousand views, I was like, "Whoa!"
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that is really, really, really cool for us. So, you guys have a good rest of your day, rest of your week. Stay safe out there, and as always, go Bucks.
Go Bucks.